Hello, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. I'll be your host for this episode. And with me in disembodied voice is Brian on the controls. He may chime in, he may not. It's always a surprise. So today I'm going to be responding to Alexander Grace's This is the Woman. This is the Woman. This is Women. Maybe one day he will do a video that's just This is Women. This is the moment women fear most. And before we begin, I just want to tell everyone, if you want to send me a message, you can do so at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. Very best way to send us a tip and to send a message to us so you can avoid YouTube's comment enhancement system and you get a little bit more space to elaborate upon your thoughts. So feedthebadger.com/justthetip. I do a shout out to the fundraiser, but we got the monthly fundraiser done and we got Brian's rig done. So we're done. I don't really have to do any shilling in this last day of the month, which is great. We can just talk about women and what women do. So let's get started. Just make sure that I just want to make sure that everybody can hear this. Hopefully Brian will chime in if there's any problems. So let's start.
Hey, what's that sign?
What the fuck? That's shitty. Go to probably. That's a shitty way to ask for prom. Oh, I'll say.
All right, for those of you who are listening along, and I think that the video may be a bit low. That might be me. No, I got it all maxed out, so it's just this video is quite low. Essentially what happened is there is a couple in a car. They're driving along, and they spot a bunch of signs, presumably on the side of the road, which spell out, "Will you go to the prom with me?" And they're discussing it, and the woman is, well, she's not enthused. She thinks it's a shitty thing and it's dumb, and why would you do that? But let's find out the twist, because there always is one.
Okay.
What?
So the man says, "Well, okay," and the woman says, "What?" And then she clues in finally that it was he who set up the signs in order to ask her to prom in I guess a romantic comedy type way, you know, the way that women are always saying that they want men to do. And yet here we have an example of a man doing it, and she's being dismissive. But I'll go into the potential reasons why she's being dismissive and the reasons why she reacted in the way that she did, not as a defense necessarily of her behavior, but just an explanation.
Was that you?
Oh, she figured it out.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, she apologizes. That's not too bad, eh? I mean, maybe she's just sort of like a cynical person and she doesn't like romantic comedies. She's just that kind of person. I mean, she could probably save this by just making a joke of it, being like, I just think it was just so much work. You put so much work into it. I just thought it was, for a prom, it just seems a little bit, but of course I appreciate it. She could have done something to lessen the blow. Let's see what she does.
I'm so sorry.
Next question.
And the man, trying to recover some semblance of his dignity or perhaps his concern and interest in this woman, gives her the question mark. So I'm guessing that the whole thing was going to be, they were going to drive past these signs. She was going to be charmed. And then at the end, he was going to give her the question mark and she would realize, oh, it was you who went through that incredible amount of effort for me. How sweet. And of course, that's not what happened. She was derisive towards the entire gesture the entire time. And then when he hands her the question mark, this would be her cue to be like, wow, I really screwed up. I really made a mistake here. I really misinterpreted what was going on. I need to do a bit more than apologize. I need to start smoothing the waters emotionally like an adult. Like doing something. Even if you awkwardly fall on your sword, that's better than nothing, right? I mean, even if you're just like, oh, geez, would you like a steak and a blowjob to make up for what I just did? I'm really freaking sorry. But that's, I suspect, because I've also watched this, spoilers, that that's not what happens. So let's see what happens. Okay. I'm going to play this again after we get through the whole thing and listen to Alexander's response. But there is an exact moment where she took this from being something that could have been laughed off. It could have even been an opportunity to strengthen the relationship and give him, like an amusing anecdote about my cynical girlfriend. Then she took it to a completely different direction, which is completely manipulative. Oh, goodness, I can hear my dog going off. Oh, boy. And I am stuck here, not being able to do anything about it. All right, just guys, give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Let's keep playing.
She trashes his proposal. Bam. He's gutted. But somehow she's the one crying. He's the one consoling her. Isn't that weird? She was the one who hurt his feelings, but yet somehow she's the one getting comforted. No time spent allowing him to explore his feelings. Her guilt, not his pain, is the top priority. The game is rigged because women in this society don't think that men's suffering is their problem to deal with.
Yeah, that's essentially what I pointed out. And there is an exact moment where it went from simply a very awkward situation that was unfortunate, and maybe she could have recovered by simply recognizing that this was it was a sweet romantic gesture. I mean, I might be somebody who would react fairly cynically towards it, but I would offer him the opportunity to express his feelings of disappointment and also be like a better person than me. Like, yeah, I'm the cynical one. I'm the one who's lacks a romantic bone in my body. And I'm the one who screwed up your big moment. And what can I do to make up for that? How can I not debase myself, but just be humble in the face of the mistake. Be humble in the face of the mistake. That's not what she did. Now, she didn't get aggressive. Like, she didn't start yelling at him about it, which, I mean, I guess that would be the sundry, however you pronounce that word, to sundry way of approaching this. Oh, goodness. I'm never going to get that word right. It is Japanese. There's no hope in hell for me. But she could have made it worse by getting angry that he put her on the spot. I've seen women do that. And that's like immediately leave kind of situation. But in this case, what she did do is she immediately sucked the emotional energy out of the room. And this is something women do. Like here, this is the exact moment where it went from potentially apologetic, potentially being a humble apology, to right there. That's when it becomes emotional. Now, I don't know if this woman is being emotionally manipulative. This face right here. I don't know if she's being emotionally manipulative or if she doesn't have the socialization. She hasn't developed the tools to be able to control her negative emotions. But right here, this is the face of a woman sucking all of the emotional energy out of the room and overdoing it too. She's essentially throwing not a tantrum, but it's almost like a sad drum. Like, I'm going to be so sad that it all revolves around me again. I mean, this is ridiculous. This is not even adult level of coping skills for something negative happening. This reflects more than just the relationship with him, which incidentally, when I first watched this, and this is very petty, but I was wondering if this was a mother and her son. But regardless, so I mean, I think that he is in terms of looks, the disparity here is well on his. She's losing out, okay. But here's the other thing. This indicates that she doesn't have a level of emotional development, and statistics suggest that people who are capable of managing their emotions, of overcoming them, and turning situations like this into something that just cushion the blow for him, right? Just do something self-effacing. Do something humble. Just eat some humble pie here. Be the adult. Be an adult. But this suggests that she doesn't even have these coping skills to bring to bear at any aspect of her life. This is what she does. She does something stupid and she cries. Is that what she's going to do for the rest of her life? She does a mistake and she immediately breaks down in tears. How does a person like that achieve anything? Because achievement is basically a series of mistakes. You just basically fail until you just get it right. And at each step, you have to accept, yeah, I failed. I screwed up. You got to be humble. You got to be humble and yet, a little bit arrogant enough to keep going. She shows absolutely no resilience, like zero. She's got the resilience of a wet noodle. So it's not even just that she can't manage this relationship. She's a person who can't manage life. Like, she needs to be installed on a cushion in a harem. Right, but maybe not a cushion. Maybe she could just do some weaving for the harem girls. She needs to be out of inclement weather, a stiff breeze, any potholes. She just needs to be somewhere where she doesn't have anything that she has to deal with because she's incapable. I mean, I don't think this guy, like, why are you crying? Is the guy going to just jump out of his seat, pull over, and start whipping out his belt and saying, "Woman, how dare you? I'm going to teach you a lesson." No. And he's just stoically accepting this. And okay, I'm going to continue. I think we moved a little bit further here. I apologize for the dog. He saw another dog and it overcame his resilience and he had to announce himself very dramatically and very annoyingly. So he is now in isolation briefly, and then I'll let him out again. But he needs to learn.
I don't think that men's suffering is their.
Isn't that funny how we expect dogs to control their emotions, despite them being basically emotions with fur and a tail? And yet we still expect more from dogs. You can't just bark your ass off at another dog. You gotta be chill. You gotta deal with it, live with it.
Problem to deal with. They're happy to demand comfort and support from men, but when you dare ask a woman about a male issue, something like loneliness, this is the kind of response you get.
I think men.
Oh, good Lord. Oh, her. Yeah, no, I totally agree. But again, I think there's a bigger problem here. I'm not bigger for men, because in men's case, they're trying to have relationships with women like this. But the bigger problem is that she displays a complete lack of emotional regulation, a lack of resilience, a lack of adult capability. And she's going to bring that to the rest of her life. Okay, let's listen to this woman.
Have to worry about that, but us as women, that's not our problem right now, and we're definitely being a lot more self-sufficient. So that's definitely a male problem to deal with.
Okay, why did I just bamf into like a slightly overweight middle-aged woman? Huh. There's only room for one of those on this channel. Okay.
Support from men.
Miss okay. All right. Miss Backlit here. So men's loneliness epidemic is their own fault. Well, here's the thing. For every lonely man, there will be a lonely woman. I'm afraid that I have my doubts that the sisterhood is really that capable of reducing women's loneliness, considering a lot of factors, the rate of lesbian divorce and domestic violence, and also the level of jealousy, envy, animosity, sabotage that I see in women's relationships, which is only getting worse because we can't hold women to any standard. It's like that just talking about. She's not held to any standard of emotional resilience. That's not just going to hurt him, it's going to hurt her. And it's going to also hurt her and the women who end up in friendships with this woman who cannot handle the least amount of imposition on herself. So, I mean, I think that your arrogant dismissal of men's so-called loneliness crisis is a bit premature and a little bit self-sabotaging here, right? Okay. You're fairly young, so you probably still get a lot of attention, or at least think you do. How much of that attention is going to translate into any kind of long-term relationship? Who knows? But ultimately, at the end of the day, there tend to be one man per one woman. And for the most part, your long-term companion, from what I can see, is most likely to be your marital companion, the person that you marry. That's what I see in my life, right? Eventually, I guess women become widows, and that creates a lot of loneliness and sadness. But at least up to that point, they were happy. Whereas women who are single are considerably more miserable than married women, and particularly married women with children. So I wouldn't crow about this. And another factor to consider is that unlike women, men tend to be able to, well, men may suffer more from loneliness, or at least they appear to. I think that there's a lot of women tend to respond to polls in ways that they think are socially acceptable or socially wanted from them. And right now there's the whole independent boss babe, don't need no man thing going on. So that's sort of like, so you got to take that with a grain of salt. But here's the thing. When they look at people who are lonely or who are alone in their lives, men are actually more likely. So there's a spectrum. There's a lot of men who are not happy being alone. There are more women who seem to be okay with it, but might be because they're just responding in ways that they think people want them to. But on the other side of the spectrum, people who are okay with being alone or even identify with being a bachelor or a bachelorette, there are more men like that. There are more men who are content with being alone, who identify with being alone, who enjoy being alone, and who would refer to that as their preferred state of being. So there's a lot of women saying they don't mind being alone. There is a significant minority of men who are living being alone and loving it. There's not a corresponding minority of women in the same category. So I just wanted to point that out. So it might not be as bad for men who are alone as this is being presented. Although again, this is a minority of men. There just isn't a corresponding minority of women who really have chosen this as a lifestyle, let's say. They sort of have this, they have unwittingly chosen it by not settling for the men that they're worth, but they don't identify it as their preferred state.
What a cop-out. To me, that answer is completely unacceptable. On this channel, I'm going to continue to make the case that the lack of female empathy towards men is not good enough. Women need to step up more. Recently, I was invited by Dr. Orion Taraban from the YouTube channel Psychax to give an interview and talk to the members of his paid community. The atmosphere of the conversation was tense. There was a lot of love and a lot of respect, but there was a lot of disagreement. From Dr. Orion and from a lot of his members, I kept hearing them say that women are no good at being there for men's emotions. Therefore, it's not worth trying. Be stoic. Keep your emotions.
Okay, so I'm hearing that my camera is frozen. Brian, can you confirm that so I can fix it? It's actually a little bit difficult for me to... Oh yeah, it is frozen. How long has it been frozen? Okay, guys, I'm going to try to fix that.
Just try to refresh it.
Yeah, like, has it been frozen since the beginning?
No.
Okay, all right. Let me just try to fix that. Sorry, guys. I didn't realize. Okay, let me. All right, so I'm going to probably end up. Let me see. Oh, there you go. Can you guys see this camera at least?
Yes.
Okay, let me see if I can return it to the other one. All right. I need technical difficulties music. All right. Here we go. Crossing our fingers. There we no. It's still frozen. Is that technical difficulties music? Is that technical difficulties music?
Yeah, sort of.
Okay. I think we're stuck with this one. Sorry, guys. You're gonna be watching me look over at this side. Okay. I think this one will work though. I think. All right. Can you actually see this one, Brian? Or
I can see it, but you got to move it over a little bit.
Okay, gotcha. Here, let me see if I can. Okay, just a sec, guys. I think that'll work. All right, let me see. Is that working?
Yes, that's working.
All right, let's see. Okay, so I guess I'm going to be looking at this one, which means I might need to move this over so I can actually see it. Just a second. All right, sorry guys. I did not realize that my camera would just go completely kaput like that. Vast apologies. All right. Okay, and I will use my stylus now to control things. Okay, let's expand this. Does this actually, when I expand it like that, does it actually show the whole thing on there? Okay. I think it looks good. I think it's good. All right, let's do this. Let's do this.
Questions to yourself. Talk about them with other men, but not with a woman in your life. I strongly disagree, and I made my case. I posted the whole thing to my Patreon if you want to see me get really passionate. But on this topic, I asked the question, how low can we allow our expectations of women to sink? How low a standard are we as men going to accept? I would consider it to be the very basic task of a husband and a wife to be there for
Well, and then here's the other thing. The lower you set women's standards, the lower they live up to it. Like that woman, I don't know what happened with that girl, but she doesn't have the necessary resilience to live a life. Okay? Somebody failed her at some point in her evolution as a human being. How can she be expected to? She doesn't have the resilience to face the world. And to go from creating a difficult emotion in another person, like a disappointment, to obsessing about her own guilt without, what the heck is going on? I feel like something is like trying to open the door. Just give me God, this has been knighted. Boy, cat, do not come any closer. We don't need even more difficulties. Okay, this has definitely been probably one of the craziest streams. All right, no, stop. What was even the point of asking? Okay.
the struggles of their spouse. That seems normal to me. That seems like a reasonable requirement. And what, we're just going to let women off the hook for that duty because, oh, they're no good at it? Nah, fuck that. That's some bullshit.
I have to say, I really like Alex. Fuck that. That's some bullshit. It is. It is bullshit. And it's not helpful. As I said in the last show that we did, for some reason, being able to set boundaries with women and have expectations for them, at least it seems like in our community, has led to at least some men, more than I've seen in other communities, really, to actually develop decent relationships with women, to actually get into relationships and develop decent relationships with women who hold up their side of the bargain. So I mean, yeah, it's not just an issue that this is more, men deserve more. It's also an issue that I think women deserve more, because right now this isn't helping women. Like she's not prepared for life. You know, and also I don't think that the way that men are approaching relationships in this manner is actually getting them. Okay, let's keep going.
I'm so sick of this culture coddling women while men bleed. Yes, women don't want to hear about men's struggles. They might not want to comfort their husbands or expend any emotional labor. But my question is, why should we let them get away with that? Guess what? Men are not good at housework. Cleaning, organizing, not our strong suit. But did feminism let men?
That's a good point. Although I would say that the cleanliness of military men would tend to belie that, but you know, he's got a good point. Men were not let off the hook on any of the things that they were supposedly incapable of relative to women. So why should women be let off the hook when it comes to men's needs? Of course, one of the problems is that you're not really allowed to talk about women not having these emotional skills to be able to manage the, let's say, the emotional pains of men, the emotions of men. It's funny because if you look at the older the movies get, the more you see women capable of managing men's emotions, like handling them, handling their sorrow, their anger, their upset, and actually extending themselves to care. You go back in time and you see more men talking about how women affect them. Like I remember I was actually really startled because there's one movie, I think it was one of those classic tough teachers in a school group that's like a delinquent. And I think it was the basis for another movie called it doesn't matter, but it was based in the UK. But the man had a wife who had a lot of jealousy towards his activities, I guess, or felt like he was after a woman. And this caused problems for him in his work life. And he pointed it out to her. And he said, you know, I have feelings about this too. And I was flummoxed because you don't see that in movies now. You don't see movies in which male characters actually take their woman aside and say, hey, what you're doing is causing me distress, and you need to see this from my point of view. And yet, if you go back further, you actually see more of that. And supposedly in this time period when men were supposed to be stoic, you saw more men expecting women to understand and consider their emotional experience of things. I just realized what's happening. My husband is actually fixing the roof, and the dog is going nuts because you know, Jonathan is somewhere where humans are not supposed to be, which is the roof. Okay. So if you're hearing any knocking, that's the sound.
Off the hook and say, oh, well.
Okay, Void Cat, stop
You're no
destroying
good at that,
things.
so don't worry about it. You don't have to do that. No, they said, we expect you to help with household cleaning. You might not like it, you might not be good at it, but men, suck it up. And guess what? We did. The overwhelming majority of households now have husbands that contribute to household cleaning and organizing. This is the effort that men made to overcome their innate weakness, and it's time for women to do the same. You're not good at seeing a man struggle, express his suffering, seeing his emotions? Too fucking bad. You can learn. I say that men need to demand support and nurturing from women, They are entitled to it. And if men don't hold that standard, then women win again. They can just carry on consuming attention and support from men while giving back nothing in return.
I just
Okay.
made a $27.
Oh, good grief. Why is it when you click on anything in YouTube, it immediately bamps to an ad? Oh,
In front
why
of
do I
you is
even
a
have to
fellow
ask
human.
that? All right, so he basically said, why should women win again? Now, I would honestly say that I don't think women are winning. I don't think anyone's winning this bullshit. But that I do appreciate the sentiment. That's cheeky. I appreciate cheekiness.
Being. He feels and suffers just like you do. So give him the dignity of some kindness and some compassion. Things have got to change because for too long, women have viewed men's emotions as just a source of entertainment, something to mock and ridicule, like a weakness that's fun to poke just for sport, for her own amusement.
One of my favorite ways to assert my dominance on the trail as a female hiker is when I see a guy pass me, I ask him, "Oh, was that your wife that just passed me like a mile ago?" Obviously make
What? Like, why would you be so pointlessly petty? And why would you be so smug about it? Like, and why would you put this in public? Like, could you imagine like a man doing this, like a TikTok? You grizzle guys, you need to start doing TikToks like this. Like, I just lapped a woman while I was running around the track, and I said, was that a 12-year-old boy who passed me a mile ago? Was that your son, madam or ma'am? Was that your son? Because women, they get bodied by the athleticism of 12-year-old boys. Was that your son, madam, ma'am, miss, grandma? Was that your grandson? Like, could you imagine men doing this? You guys need to do it. The grizzle guys, the sassy man apocalypse guys, you need to get on that. You need to start rubbing women's faces in their inferiority. No, I mean, I'm just saying that because this woman is doing it. And that, you know what? Recently I read some article. It was a Medium article because all the insanity comes from Medium, right? Like it's like it's the insane asylum has been disgorged onto some kind of writing apocalypse, into a writing apocalypse. Anyway, so this woman was alleging that men are being competitive towards women and shoving it in women's faces. Well, first of all, I recall who started the battle of the sexes, and it wasn't men. Men were just sort of trucking along, building businesses and infrastructure and tunnels and everything. And then women just woke up one day and said, we're better than you. And off to the races we go. And now we have this smug woman. Ugh. I really don't want to dislike women, but you guys are making
the
it
assumption
hard.
that there was another woman that passed them, and every single time they get so defensive and they're like, "What? No." Micro-feminism, ladies.
Male emotions are
Okay. Consider that they don't give a crap. Like, I know that Alexander is going to bring up the point that male emotions are not brought into this woman's thought sphere, but she should also give a consideration to the fact that they don't give a crap and they're confused because how the hell does this woman know that they have a wife, or who their wife is, or why they would think some random woman was their wife? Maybe they're just baffled by this individual, right? They're just like, what? Oh, okay, lady. Backs away slowly. The bear's that way. I heard you want one.
not toys for women to play with. This sort of sexism thrives on our silence, and nothing will change unless we demand more. And to say that women are incapable of improving in this area infantilizes them. It's the
Yeah. I think there's a bigger problem here, though. It's not that people say that women are incapable of improving in this area. It's that they say they don't have to. Of course, in the manosphere, I don't even know if Alexander Grace is part of the manosphere. In the area of the internet in which men talk about the issues that they have with women, which apparently is the manosphere, but then the manosphere apparently is all men too. I think that they do bring this up, but the problem is the general attitude towards this is women got this. That women don't have to actually learn these skills because they already got them. Hey, you're being nice, Void Cat.
Soft sexism of low expectations. Women can do better and they must do better. Because guess what? This current arrangement, it benefits no one. Women are crying, where are all the good men? Well, how about you look in the mirror? Women, ask yourselves, how do I?
Yeah, Mr. Holland's Opus, no, it was older. No, it was far older. Just give me a second. This is gonna bug the hell out of me. Okay, Void Cat, let me do my thing, Void Cat. Actually, I shouldn't do it. Be nice, Void Cat. Don't destroy anything. It was prior to another movie, I think, with Sidney Poitier. I'm probably butchering that name because, you know, I'm not going to be able to say anything French. Now, my dear, I need to use the keyboard. It was an older movie, and it was famous because it started with a rock and roll song that everybody went to the theaters for. Blackboard Jungle, that's what it was. Blackboard Jungle. All right. Now that I've got that brain worm out, let's go back.
Interact with men? Do I build them up or do I tear them down? If there is a crisis in masculinity, what are you doing to help? But if you're not willing to do your part to help fix the problem, at least stop complaining. But it's not just women at fault here, because so many men have accepted a life where they're eating crumbs and they're calling it dinner. They say, I can't open up about my struggles. I can't show her that I'm suffering. I can't let her see my emotions because then she's going to see that I have flaws and she'll lose attraction to me.
Foreclosures.
Oh,
That's where people lose houses
sorry.
and money.
I did not, here, let me just quiet this. It's YouTube. YouTube is ads. There we go.
And then you're just going to live your life as a performance, just pretending to be perfect all the time? To that I say, expectations of perfection might be her trap, but you are the sucker who walked into it. What kind of a low-grade woman is entitled enough to demand a flawless man? And how spineless are you to grovel to that delusion? You are a human. You make mistakes.
It's a woman who's preloaded failure. Like, let's be honest here. The women who have these gigantic lists, they're preloading failure. What I mean by that is it's something that I noticed that a lot of women actresses or female producers or writers in Hollywood do. They preload failure. So they will say, if this fails, and they're assuming it will, it'll be because the men who I said weren't my audience don't go to it, or they're sexist and they discriminate against me. And that's fine. I'm still making it a statement about women's empowerment in film or something. That's preloading failure. This is the same thing that women do with these gigantic lists and never actually settling on anything. They're preloading failure. They're explaining why they're failing. And they're also cushioning their egos in the process of failing. Because, you know, relationships are actually risk. They require you to extend yourself, to open yourself, to be vulnerable, to care about another person, to face the eventual loss of that person, which is something that stresses me out. And I mean, and not that my husband I'm going to lose him anytime soon, as far as I know, but the idea of it, when you love somebody, the idea of losing them becomes painful. You have to face all of that. And it takes courage, and it takes a certain amount of emotional resilience and getting out of your own head and being able to care about other people. So it's much easier to preload failure with an ego defensive excuse of, oh, well, there's just no man worth me. Meanwhile, you sort of look like a backlit mosquito. Not throwing at shading anyone in particular. Let's go.
mistakes sometimes. You fail at things. You have emotions. All of that's normal. Putting on a performance of perfection so that she never has to deal with the real you is toxic codependence. And you will be responsible for creating a spoiled brat of a woman who only thinks of herself. You never demanded her support. You never demanded her empathy. That's on you. You are the man. You are the leader. You need to show her a more realistic version of masculinity. One that takes personal responsibility, yes, but also fucks up sometimes, fails, makes mistakes. I'm not saying you need to become a whiny little bitch, but you are a normal adult man. You have feelings.
Yep. And I would go deeper, because that's the thing that I do. And if there's nothing for women to strive for, then they'll achieve nothing. Right? If there's no other for women to understand and care about and extend themselves to, then that's going to correspond not just to their abilities in relationships with men, but their resilience in life and their ability to achieve in any other capacity, whether or not that's as a homesteader, a homemaker, or in a career. I think that women's behavior towards men directly correlates with their achievement period, or their ability to achieve. Because if you cannot accept that you make mistakes, you cannot learn from them. And you cannot build skills. You can't build efficiencies. You can't build competencies. You can't build resilience. And it all starts with actually caring about something other than yourself. All right, let's continue.
Occasionally, you would like some support. Without that, honestly, why even get married? Like, really, why sign over so much power to her in terms of finances and child custody if in that marriage you don't think you're entitled to even basic emotional support? Why would you choose that? Why would you want to spend 50 years of your life providing for her, protecting her, being there for her emotions, if you can't even say to her, I'm really struggling today, can I please?
Okay. I don't know. Why do people want cats? Jeez, why do they want creatures that come in and then destroy everything? Throw everything off of their table? I don't know. Because we want a challenge, right?
Talk to you about it. It makes no sense. You trust her enough to raise your kids, but you don't trust her enough to listen to you say, I'm sad. I remind you, women love the idea of men thinking that they are incapable of being there for male emotions because it's less.
They love a lot of weird things in this respect, because simultaneous with that, they want to say that men should open up, but not so much that women have to do emotional labor. And this is a little bit Borgifying, so I'll have to make the caveat that these are the women who are loudest on the internet, who are probably not women who are capable of having a relationship in the first place. So maybe some of what they say should be taken with a grain of salt. However, the divorce statistics suggest that this represents at least a certain number of women. A sizable minority, a minor majority, I don't know. They certainly are loud, let's say. Okay, let's keep going.
Work for them. Do not let them win. Do not let them get away with it. Do not let them use that as a convenient little excuse to continue to ignore men and men's suffering. Expect more. Demand more. Raise your standards. I know that there are men out there who think that women are genuinely incapable of being there for a man's emotions. And in some cases, they may be right. There are lots of low-quality women out there. But it is a universal truth that the world will never give you more than what you ask for. If you have low expectations for women and beliefs about what they're capable of, you will be proved right.
Yep. And it's entirely possible that the woman you're with will live down to your expectations. They may not be able to live up, but they'll definitely live down.
But if you raise your standards and have higher expectations for women, you might be surprised.
I pretty much read his mind. So it's like, if I know you and I study you, like I know how you are in the morning, I know how you are about midday, I know when you're in this mood, what you need. Like, before you can ever ask me for something, I'm already on it. I think my biggest flex is how I treat my man. I love to see him eating the meal that I cooked.
Wow. I'm too autistic for this. I just try my best.
love seeing him sleep easy. Every night, like clockwork, I scratch this man's back to sleep. And I know when he's asleep because I can tell when his breathing changes. But I find joy in being your rest.
Women will take their cues from men. They will follow your lead. If you set a weak tone, then she will happily skip your needs. But if instead you say the privilege of being my girlfriend comes at a price, if you enjoy my protection, my masculinity, you can earn that by providing me with companionship and support. I know.
I think this is not, it's not necessarily bad advice, but I think it's incomplete because you have to also address the very common ways that women establish moral dominance over men, which is all of the feminist rubric, which a lot of women, even if they don't identify as feminists, still use in order to establish moral dominance over the men in their life. So you gotta deal with that. You gotta explain it, I think, in terms that men understand and deconstruct it to give men the tools to push back against it. But overall, I think that's really fair advice.
I know that there are guys in the comment section who have had very shitty experiences with women. They tried opening up to a woman emotionally and it went really badly. And many of you guys have concluded that it's just not possible to get support from women. I am sorry that that happened. That sucks. It's one of the worst human experiences, is attempting to be vulnerable and connect with another person and having it go badly. But for you to retreat to the idea that women are just not capable and therefore you should never expect it from women, I think that's a cop-out. You're playing right into their hand. You're just letting women off the hook. Like I said,
but let's be fair. There's a huge amount of social pushback, or there's a huge amount of like a tide rising, this callousness towards men. And this idea that women who are callous towards men are socially, have greater social status, right? And all of the insults towards women who actually consider men's point of view and everything else, right? That's something that has to be considered when you tell this to men. There's some guys who just don't want to deal with it, right? They're just like, yeah, being true, I'll allow that. However, this isn't my fight and I don't want it to be. And I think they should have every right to say that and do that.
for men are leaders.
I don't know if Alexander Grace, his opinions on MGTOW, men going their own way. So I couldn't say.
We have low expectations, then this is all women are going to give us. But if we raise our standards, who knows? Maybe things can start to improve. Now, that's my perspective. But as I said earlier, Dr. Orion Taraban from the YouTube channel Psychax strongly disagrees with me. So in this video, you've heard my side. If you would like to hear the other side and like to hear me debate it, I posted our discussion on my Patreon. You can go and check it out right now. And for the rest of this video, I want to move from theory to practice. I want to
Okay, so this is the end of it. Hope you guys found that edifying. I think it's mostly mostly he's right about pretty much everything he brings up. I think there's some more depth that you could go into. I don't think that women are winning. Like my personal opinion is they're losing big time. They're losing a lot of the sense of self in not actually recognizing how important standards are, how important this kind of resilience are, and stop making decisions out of cowardice, because that's what I see a lot of women doing. I don't think it's always just feeling superior to men that's making them make these choices that are almost anti-male. I think it's cowardice and insecurity. And if you don't face these issues, you're going to live with them for the rest of your life. Like, I mean, how insecure as a woman do you have to be to go on a hiking trail and start yapping at strange men? Oh, do you feel bad? Your wife was faster than you. Like, they're just dudes they're just dudes communing with nature. What are you there for? To assuage, like to soothe your insecurities in relation to men? Ugh. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna add. Oh, Void Cat's back. Brian, did you want to add anything to this at all?
No, I think you covered it pretty well. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right then. I was gonna use the badger as a stand-in for you, but since you don't have anything further to say, then yeah, I think I'll with this incredibly congested desk, in addition to the Void Cat and all of the chaos. Thank you for sticking through the chaos. I really appreciate it. I thank you for sticking around and listening, and have a lovely evening, afternoon, second brunch, whatever you're doing, wherever you are. And thank you for your kind attention, and see you in the next one.
Men's right activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.